Welcome to this lesson on That's Life Improvisation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to improvise over the song That's Life. And I already have a tutorial on That's Life. So basically what we're going to be doing though is I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to show you how to create a simple accompaniment pattern, improvise over it using just your G major pentatonic scale and using alterations of that. Kind of a powerful technique, makes it a little bit easier for you to get into improvisation, and then show you how to create a more complicated accompaniment pattern. So you get sounds like this. Right, so we're going to work through all of that, okay? So let's get started with the simple accompaniment pattern. Now, I've worked with a lot of different students, both in live lessons and in Skype lessons, and the one thing that I find is, especially adult students, I'll give them a concept, but they want to jump to the end of the concept. So there might be 3 steps and they want to jump to step 4 before they've actually learned and mastered steps 1, 2, and 3. Now I know I'm kind of like that as well. I do karate and I'm physical, and it's I want to get right into it. But the problem is that if you don't understand these simple concepts at the beginning and really know them and really master them, then it's going to make it almost impossible for you to be able to get the more complicated stuff. So I say that to you now so that while you're watching this lesson, that you think, oh, that's too simple for me. I don't need that. Don't think that way, all right? Instead, think, all right, let me try this, all right? And I'm going to show you exactly what it is that you're going to need to practice. Now, the first thing that you'll notice is that in the song, there's 4 pages of music here in the arrangement that I did for That's Life. We're not going to improvise over all of that, okay? Why not, Willie? Because I don't want to bog you down in improvising over all of those chords. I want to just take the first 8 measures, because this is the bulk of the song, actually, to be honest with you, right here is this first 8 measures. And I want you to learn the concept of how to improvise over this, not just here note for note. Okay, so let's get into this. First thing that we do is we create a simple accompaniment. Now, if we take a look, and you can pull up the music, the original music. I have the original music in front of me here for That's Life. So you'll see on the site that I have the lesson That's Life, so you can pull up that original music and see what I'm talking about. But the original thing here is I have so that's the arrangement there. You'll notice that left hand is, and you might say, well, should I play that left hand when I'm improvising? No. You don't have to play that left hand when improvising, okay? So we have an arrangement left hand or an arrangement accompaniment, and then we have a soloing accompaniment, all right? And you also have arrangement chords and soloing chords. Let me take a real brief moment and explain that to you, because I've never really explained that on the site, and you will see this. You will see in a lead sheet book, in a fake book, you'll see a song, and then you might see something that says solo changes, and that's the chords that you improvise over. So now the question is, well, why are they different? Well, sometimes when arranging a song, we'll put in other chords, right? Because we want to fill out the arrangement, have a nice big full arrangement. So we might add in some extra chords. But when improvising, we want to take that away, and we want more of a skeleton to improvise over. Why is that? Well, it's because that skeleton to improvise over allows the improviser more room and freedom to be able to improvise without having to improvise over 3 chords in a measure, right? So, anyway, these are my solo changes, and you'll notice that in the left hand here, I'm playing very simple. Okay, so it's it's not overly complicated in the left hand. So the left hand for the arrangement was very active, right? okay? But we're not going to be that active in the left hand, or I should say we're not going to change it around as much. Like, this is kind of a bass line thing going on there. Instead, we're just going to do this, right? And then we could call this 4 to the floor, right? So this is a 4 to the floor type of accompaniment pattern. I could put that in there as well. So 4 to the floor. And I'm not sure where that expression started from. You could probably look it up and find it, but it has to do with the rhythm section and the drums. Like a lot of times for the floor, you'll hear the bass drum on the drummer on the bass drum hitting quarter notes, doon, 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 and then the guitar player will be chang, 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 chang. It'll be like, you know, like playing quarter notes. So we can do that same thing here on the piano. So 1, 2, aye. Okay, we can do that same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So again, root 7. Now, I changed this, didn't I, to a G7. This is what I'm going to do for my solo changes. I could have played like the G6 or just a plain old G chord, but I like the dominant 7th chord. So gives it more of that bluesy sound to it. Okay, so I made that choice. If you don't like that, you can play it as a G6, and I do that down here as well. Play as just a plain old G6 chord. All right, so root 7 here. For F sharp minor 7 flat 5, root 7. For B7, root 3 7. Why did I add in the third in there? Just because. I could have just as easily taken it out, but I decided to add the third just to add a little bit more meat to the chord. Then I go to the root 3rd, and then over D, I just move that root down to the D. And then over this A7 over C sharp, I have the C sharp on the bass with the 7th up here, okay, the G, and then I go to root 3 7 for the A7. Now, the reality is you could just play E minor 7 to A7 here, okay? Okay? You could easily do that, but I like that line descending, so I kept that in there. Here, yeah, you can play root 5, right? Or I have, actually, I do have the 5th in there. Okay? You can also play the E if you wanted to. And then root 3 7 for the B7, and then E minor 7, and then A7, and then just plain old D, root and 3rd. Okay? So, whenever you're trying to improvise over a standard, or really any song, but let's take you know, a jazz standard as an example for right now. But I know some of you like you know you're more interested in rock or pop, and I'll say jazz, and you think that for some reason that they don't relate. Absolutely. Like if you're going to try and improvise over a rock song, say, right? Break down the chords into some easy to play chords at first. When you're improvising, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? So you're dealing with rhythm, you're dealing with dynamics, you're dealing with trying to find the right notes, you're dealing with trying to find the right chords down here. You have a lot of stuff to think about. So what you want to try and do is think about less, right? Because you can't focus on the right hand and come up with some really cool stuff if you also need to focus so much of your attention on the left hand. Right? You just cannot split your brain and think about two things at once. Can't be done, right? So what that means is that if you have a easier left hand that's going to be easier for you to memorize and be able to just pull out and play, then that means you could focus more of your attention over to the right hand, okay? So that's what you want to start with. Start just by playing through this simple accompaniment at first, all right? Don't worry about trying to like make it, you know, super fancy. Just go ahead through, play this 2, 3, oops, there we go, 2, 3, 4. Right? And just get that nice and relaxed. The other thing you want to make sure is that it's not all this. You know, it shouldn't be heavy. It should be light. So just get it nice and light. Now, you may practice that even for a week, right? Give it the time that it needs so that you can actually play this well, and you really don't have to look at it so much. You almost have it memorized, all right? So you can just kind of like go on and be able to do something else in the right hand, all right? And I'll be back with you in the next chapter, and we'll talk about what to start doing in the right hand.